Hi Internet, I'm making a 2.5D Souls-like game in Unreal Engine 5. Imagine if Octopath Traveler and Dark Souls made sweet video game love and 9 months later created Requiem for the Flame. The most crucial part of a Souls-like is the combat.
It's just started so hard!
Souls games have a weight behind every weapon attack, and while I can dream about the amazing system I will make, I first have to start with the basics. A light attack is probably the best place to start, and is honestly quite simple. When the player presses the attack button, it will play the attacking animation, and start a collision sweep for any enemies. The collision sweep uses a function called a sphere trace. This will spawn a sphere for a couple frames, and if an object is in it with the tag enemy, the player will tell them to take damage. We can make this feel a little better by adding a little shove forward on the player's attack. Yeah, let's turn that down. Perfect. Now that I can attack the enemies, we're gonna have to make them attack back. Time for the bane of my existence, my Achilles heel, AI behavior trees. Honestly though, I think I've gotten pretty good at these. It used to be something I dreaded, but Unreal makes it pretty easy. A behavior tree is simple to understand. Our AI starts at the top and travels to its first decision. Has the AI seen the player? If it hasn't seen the player yet, it will continue here to its idle sequence. If it has, it will go down to its next decision. Is the player in attackable range? If the player is not in range of an attack, then move towards the player. And once the player is in range, attack. We can add a cooldown to this attack so it can only be triggered every 5 seconds. To see this behavior in action, I'll keep the behavior tree open while I play the game. When the enemy attacks, it follows the same attack function as the player, so there wasn't any need to code really anything else. But now that the enemy can attack the player and do damage, we'll need a way to dodge their attacks. If you're not familiar with how rolling works in most games, when you roll, a couple of the frames of it initialize what we call iframes, or invincibility frames. So if we make a rolling animation, during these 4 frames of animation, the player is invulnerable to attack. All we have to do then is make the roll launch the player forward a bit, and there we have it, a nice simple roll. This combat is now feeling okay, but something's missing. Something that is the beating heart of every Souls game: parrying. To make our parrying mechanic, I made some simple test sprites of the enemy stagger and some for the main character parrying forward. During the Crimson Knight's attack animation, we set a couple frames of the animation to notify the enemy's blueprint that it is currently parryable. If the player presses the parry button, it will start the parry animation, and at this frame it checks if there's an enemy in range. If an enemy is in range, the player asks the enemy if it is parryable. If the Crimson Knight is between our target frames, it will return that it is able to be parried. Then we can set our enemy to play its stagger animation and make sure our player doesn't take any damage from the attack. Last, but especially not least, when the player presses their attack button and a staggered enemy is in range, the player will riposte the enemy, dealing heavy damage to the enemy. Now, after about a month of work on the art, design, system, and combat, we have a little demo that looks like this. I'm super excited to keep working on this and releasing devlogs. If there's anything that you guys want an in-depth tutorial on, let me know and I'll put it out. Love y'all. Bye.